Well, the show it started with hands. I was inspired by Betty Goodwin, who made plates from her father's vests. And so I made these first plates with the hands from my garden gloves. And then eventually I made plates from my Tai Chi shoes. And I never do additions at all. So I just messed around with a whole lot of different ways to use the same plate. And then the faces are monoprints. And I tend to often do it on a kind of paper that I'm running out of, which is Thai paper for umbrellas. And if you glue it down, the paper kind of disappears. But now, if you want to go close, I got interested in what happens when I printed this. These were like this, but they weren't glued down, and so then I moved the papers around after printing them. So I've always done collage, and so my studio in my basement is just piles of little bits of junky paper, and they come back. I'm really interested in relationships, so whether it's this kind of more abstract or whether it's this kind of thing where there are monoprint faces on top of each other, I'm interested in. And that's pretty well what I'm working with all the time. So in many cases they kind of tell stories, because this paper is paper I got. It's Tibetan paper. It's pretty lousy, but it's printed with the prayer Om Mani Padme Hum. Each one of these is Om Mani Padme Hum, which is the classic Tibetan prayer. And this is a block I bought. It's also Tibetan. Now I can't remember where I even got it, but so a lot of these things somehow incorporate things that have been in my life for a long time, and then they turn up in these pieces. Well, I can't, this guy is some guy I saw in some book, because I draw not from my head. If I draw from my head, everything looks the same. So I draw from photographs, often from people all around the world. And but I got interested in this whole thing of breaking it up. And so this one is called Gilded Split. So really, because I also write poetry, the titles tend to be, I look at it and I say, oh, that's interesting. What's this title? This one is called Late. So I'm talking about these faces and this hand. While I'm working on it, I never know what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. I just do what I do, and then I look at it, and there's a title. And sometimes the title changes the next day. So now, this one is called Upside Down Mud Man. Okay, so here's a mud man, and he was drawn from a photograph by William Penn, a book of his called Worlds in a Small Room, and he had a kind of collapsible studio. He traveled around the world and set it up and just photographed people just against a plain canvas background or something. Anyway, so there's the mud man. He's upside down, and these two women, I can't remember. Oh, I think she's Nepalese. So maybe she is too, but I can't remember. But I recognize her.
And so the materials also, what you can say about the materials, how do you choose the materials for each piece, or how?
Well, most of the paper I made, not this, but this paper, all of the paper just about is paper that I made, because I made paper for years before I started printing on it. And for years I made very large three-dimensional structures, kind of tent-like or houses or things like that. And then I stopped doing that. And I never sold the paper that I made, so I have a stack of paper. So I started printmaking with Susie Raxlin, who is so skilled. And then I would use my bits of paper, but I did her, you know, traditional printmaking format with a square and a white ground. And when I bought myself a press, I started doing that, and I will never in my life be able to make a print like that with pristine white. I have fingerprints everywhere. I am truly a non-technical person, so then I just started, I mean, here is the plate, you can see the plate, but I just started printing and not thinking about white background or anything like that. And often I print on a smaller piece of paper, and then it becomes part of a collage. So I just kind of work away, and this stuff's floating around in the studio, and oh, okay, well, then I put it down, and a week later I look up, and I do something else. And so as far as titles, I never have a subject particularly in mind, so when I make a title, I just look at it and I think, oh, that's what it is. If that makes any sense.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Let me see if, what's this one called? Intersection Hands, this one is called. So I liked this paper because it had a hole in it. So, and then I had these other bits of paper, so I did that same thing where I printed without having glued them, and so I could move them around a bit. So here are my Tai Chi shoes, and then I specialize in potato printing.